At the sound of the pistol, Elias exploded from the starting blocks and took the lead before the first bend. His stride was clean, his breathing controlled, his body moving with the effortless power that had made every coach in the district notice him. Then he heard another runner's footsteps drawing closer. Elias turned his head toward the lane beside him. For half a second, his shoulders twisted. His rhythm broke. By the time he faced forward again, 2 runners had passed him. He finished fourth, staring at the backs of men he knew he could outrun. He remained on the track after the crowd had gone. Paper cups rolled beneath the empty stands. A groundskeeper folded the finish line banner while evening settled over the lanes. Elias replayed the race until every moment felt like an accusation. He had trained harder than the winner. He had run faster times in practice. Yet whenever a rival came near, something inside him demanded proof of where he stood. He looked sideways, tightened his muscles, shortened his stride, and lost the speed he was so desperate to protect. This had happened before. At 16, Elias had been the most promising runner in his school. He loved the simple purity of running then, the pressure of the earth beneath his feet, the cool air entering his lungs, the straight white line carrying him onward. But praise changed the shape of his desire. He stopped wanting to run well and began wanting to be seen running better than everyone else. He learned the personal records of every competitor. He studied their shoes, their training routines, their bodies, and their victories. If one runner posted a faster time, Elias added punishing laps to his evening. If another appeared relaxed before a race, Elias wondered what secret confidence the man possessed. At breakfast, he compared diets. At night, he compared careers. Even on days when his own training went perfectly, someone else's success could make the day feel like failure. His coach told him to keep his eyes on the finish, but the instruction only gave Elias another thing to resist. He tried forcing himself not to look. The effort made him more aware of every sound in every neighboring lane. A footstep became a warning. A breath became a threat. His attention scattered among 7 rivals, and none of it remained for the ground beneath him. After the 4th loss of the season, his coach sent him to an old stadium near the edge of the city. The place had faded blue seats, cracked concrete walls, and a track softened by years of rain. Elias expected to meet a famous sprinting expert. Instead, he found an elderly man named Soren arranging thin guide ropes beside a group of blind runners. Soren did not ask about Elias's victories or defeats. He placed a strip of cloth in Elias's hands and continued working. Around them, the runners warmed up in pairs. Some held short tethers connecting them to sighted guides. Others moved alone along a lane marked by a taut cord. Their steps were careful at first, then increasingly free. No one watched another lane. No one could. Elias waited for advice. Soren offered none. He pointed toward the inside lane and motioned for Elias to run 400 meters at an easy pace. Elias started quickly. The blind runners were still warming up, and he passed them with ease. Each time he did, he glanced back to see whether they had noticed. When he finished, Soren checked the stopwatch, wrote something in a small notebook, and pointed to the lane again. On the second lap, Soren placed 3 runners at staggered positions. Elias chased the first, overtook the second, and accelerated when he heard the third behind him. He finished breathless. Soren showed him the stopwatch. His time was worse. On the third lap, Elias was told to run alone. Halfway around the bend, Soren struck a wooden block against the railing in a quick rhythm. Elias mistook the sound for approaching footsteps. He looked over his shoulder and stumbled across the lane line. Soren caught the stopwatch, made another note, and walked away. For 6 mornings, the same quiet trials continued. Sometimes runners moved beside Elias. Sometimes they stood still while their shoes scraped the track. Sometimes Soren created footsteps with his hands or sent a guide running behind the barrier. Elias never knew which sounds were real. The uncertainty exhausted him more than the running. Meanwhile, he watched the blind athletes improve. They listened to the cadence of their guides, the contact of their shoes, and the movement of air around the bend. Their faces held concentration without suspicion. When one finished, the others tapped the track in celebration. Their attention was narrow while running and generous afterward. On the 7th morning, Soren led Elias to the starting line before sunrise. Only a few lamps shone above the track. The strip of cloth was tied over Elias's eyes. A short tether joined his left hand to the hand of Mira, one of the experienced guide runners. Small bells had been hung beyond the finish line. Soren positioned several athletes in the neighboring lanes, then placed Elias's fingers against the track. This would be a race, not another exercise. Elias felt panic rise through his chest. He could not inspect the runners beside him. He could not read their expressions or judge their posture. He could not even see the finish. All the information he usually gathered had vanished, leaving him with the unbearable sensation that everyone might already be ahead. The pistol sounded. Mira moved, and the tether became a steady pulse between them. Elias surged too hard, trying to outrun what he could not see. His feet struck heavily. The tether tightened, then softened as Mira held her rhythm. Elias remembered the blind runners during practice. He stopped chasing the imagined bodies surrounding him and listened. One step, then another. The track answered each footfall. His arms settled. His breathing found a pattern. The tether no longer felt like a restraint. It became a quiet boundary, just enough guidance to keep him true. Sounds rose from other lanes, but without faces attached to them, they lost their power. A runner might be ahead or behind. Elias had no way to know, and gradually he discovered that knowing was unnecessary. The bells grew louder. His legs burned along the final straight, but the pain was clean, free from calculation. He did not wonder how graceful another runner looked or whether someone was gaining. There was only the next stride, the next breath, and the bright ringing somewhere in the darkness. He crossed the line at full speed. Mira slowed him gently. When Soren removed the cloth, Elias saw that he had finished second. For an instant, Disappointment returned by habit. Then Soren handed him the stopwatch. Elias had run the fastest time of his life. Soren said nothing. He walked to the middle of the track and placed 7 empty starting blocks in 7 separate lanes. Then he moved each block to a different distance from the finish. One began far ahead. Another faced the wrong direction. One rested near a damaged patch of track. Beside another, he placed a pair of worn shoes. At Elias's block, he laid the blindfold. Elias stood before the uneven arrangement. No speech was needed. A race could compare runners because its distance, start, and finish had been deliberately made the same. A life offered no such arrangement. People began with different burdens, gifts, losses, duties, chances, and unseen stretches of road. To compare their positions as if they shared one starting line was to misunderstand the course itself. Soren then reset the blocks evenly. He motioned for everyone to take a lane. Elias crouched at the start. This time his eyes remained open. He saw the runners on both sides, but he did not search their faces for signs of strength. He looked down his own lane toward the pale horizon. When the race began, another runner took an early lead. Elias felt the old impulse pulling at his neck. He let it pass without obeying. The white line beneath him seemed to rise with every stride. His task was not to defeat the sound beside him. His task was to give himself wholly to the ground arriving beneath his feet. He won that race, but the victory mattered less than what did not happen. He did not abandon his rhythm to measure another person's progress. Later that season, he lost twice and remained steady. He congratulated the winners without secretly turning their success into evidence against himself. He studied what could help him, released what could not, and returned to his lane. Years later, Elias understood that envy rarely announces itself as envy. It often appears as research, ambition, vigilance, or the wish to stay informed. It invites us to inspect another person's career, home, body, talent, relationship, or happiness. Then it quietly moves our starting block backward while our attention is elsewhere. We may still be running, yet our energy travels sideways. The lesson was not to ignore other people. The blindfold had never meant withdrawal from the world. Elias had needed Myra's hand, the bells at the finish, and the runners who trained beside him. Other lives can guide, inspire, warn, and accompany us. The trouble begins when we use them as rulers against our own worth. Companionship looks outward with warmth. Comparison looks outward and forgets the road beneath its feet. A woman named Claire carried this lesson into an ordinary Monday many years later. At work, a colleague announced a promotion. Claire felt her stomach tighten. She opened the colleague's professional profile and began scrolling through achievements, titles, photographs, and praise. Her own completed project suddenly seemed small. Her quiet evening with her partner seemed uneventful. Even her apartment, which had felt peaceful that morning, now appeared inadequate. Then she noticed her reflection turning sideways in the dark edge of the screen. She closed the profile. On a blank page, she wrote the next 3 steps of her own project. She completed the first, sent a sincere note congratulating her colleague, and went home without carrying an imaginary race through the door. That evening, when her partner described a difficult day, Claire listened instead of comparing whose burden was heavier. The room became peaceful again, not because another person had fallen behind, but because she had returned to her lane. Before sleeping, she placed her phone face down and remembered the runner beneath the blindfold. No rival to inspect, no borrowed finish line to chase, only the next faithful step and the quiet rhythm of a life becoming its own. Keep this lesson with you and return whenever your mind needs a quieter path.